Hello, everyone, and welcome to the brand new episode of Weekly Controversies. We are on episode 29. I am your host, Jayo Brown, and I am also with my beautiful co host, Tony O'Connell. How are you today, Tony?
I'm good. I'm good. In fine form. In fine form. It's a great week to be a wrestling fan.
Absolutely great week. And also, we have a returning guest back from beautiful France, the beautiful, sexy Scottish man himself, Mark Goldberg.
Been demoted
The
to a
only
guest,
mark
yeah?
on the FiveMarks network.
Yes, don't forget about that. Yeah.
You're goddamn right. It's good to be
The only
back.
Goldberg that's over.
The only go back that's
The only
over, the only
Goldberg
mark
that's
the
likable.
FiveMarks network,
And the only Rangers fan that two Irish men are getting along with.
and the only guy who's going to ask, Tony, when was the last time someone called you beautiful? Nice one, Jamie.
Never.
I told you it's
Uh,
okay, mate. You're beautiful in my eyes.
it's
But
good to be back.
yeah, well, it's good to have you back. You know, it's actually been missed. I seen you got a lovely tan when you were over in France.
Yes, what can I say? Tony will see you the weekend. That's what happens when you sit out in the sun too long. Also, when you work from home outside, but shh.
Yeah, listen, I know we're not deep diving into the all-in conversation because we are actually doing a topic episode today. But I know you're not going to be the most tan person when you hit Wembley Stadium on Sunday. But anyway, today's episode, everyone, is actually going to be something different. It's an idea I sent to the lads on the WhatsApp group, and I decided to say to the lads, we can do the top 10 greatest wrestlers of all time. Now, we're not going to do an individual list because I think the episode will be just boring and literally just drag on as long as it will be. And we already done two parts with Boots, and we don't want that. What we're going to do is we are going to do the Weekly Controversies top 10 greatest wrestlers of all time. We are going to do a majority decision, and we are going to discuss different names from kind of every era, any wrestler from any company, WCW, ECW, WWE, you name it. We're going to discuss it. And yeah, I'm actually just going to start off, lads, with a name that I think should be definitely put on the list for
We're on the
not
list.
yeah, our list for the list anyway.
But what
That
number? Like, we're obviously doing it as a ranking system. So we have a 10 to 1, with 10 being, like, yeah,
I
and
think
1 being,
what
yeah,
we'll do
yeah.
is we'll rank we'll give kind of the names that we're gonna pull out there, and we'll rank them kind of near enough to the end. But I think definitely one of the names that has to be on the list, and it's definitely gonna be a wrestler who will get a lot of attention next year, and it's gonna be his last year. It's of course the greatest of all time, John Cena.
You're number one,
You
huh?
agree?
Huh? Since you're already throwing that out there. Listen, nobody's going to disagree. John
No one's going to
Cena.
debate that at all.
No, John
If you
Cena's
debate John
there.
Cena being on any top 10 list, then there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
Yes, I think everyone knows. I think we can just make this short and simple with Cena. We already know what he's gonna be doing next year. We already know what he's hunting for. We already know there's gonna be history possibly made in his, farewell tour. And he's definitely someone with not only what he accomplished at the early stages of the Attitude Era, he basically started the Attitude, not the Attitude Era, the Ruthless Aggression Era. You know, he was the forefront of all that. We discussed about that on the Cena episode. But the mad thing is, for this Paul Levesque era, it's crazy to think that he will be also another big figure because of what you could possibly do. And when he retires, he is going to be sadly missed. But there is no doubt that he is one of the greatest wrestlers to have ever stepped foot in the ring. Even though he doesn't look like a wrestler in any way, shape, or form, he could definitely perform as a wrestler. And 100% he's on that list. Do you know what, lads? I'm gonna start spicing this episode early already. There's a guy that I'm just gonna put out the name, but I don't think he should be on the list, and I think it's Roman Reigns. I don't think he should be in the top 10 list. Tony, I know
I
you're
mean,
smiling.
I'm glad we all got to give our opinion of Cena. What a royal ramble that was, Jamie. Thanks for moving on so quick. Yeah, John Cena, 16 world titles. Let's not forget. Charity
Yeah,
work. You said Attitude Era. And then you said Ruthless
and
Aggression
ruthless
Era. I'm
aggression.
going to
Yeah,
throw in
I know. I'm
PG
literally
Era.
rambling on.
And now he's a nostalgia act, but 16 world titles, you make it there, right? Roman Reigns.
Down to be 17.
Yes, could well be. Depends when you listen to this, guys. You're throwing in Roman Reigns as somebody you don't think makes it onto the list. And you are speaking to at least one person who might agree. Roman Reigns of the last 3 to 4 years, definitely would be. If that was his full career, you're like, that's the aura, that's the person, that's the character. But man, I just can't get over, can't get away from all those old videos of Vince McMahon at his worst, feeding lines to poor Roman Reigns. Where it doesn't bring me much happy memories, the old Roman Reigns, and that's maybe why I'm in agreement. But Tony, your face, you disagree?
Absolutely. He's the longest reigning world champion of the modern era. The lad has one of the biggest career turns in history. He went from being the most hated man in pro wrestling to the man that everyone wants to see week in, week out. He's getting pops for every goal. The fans are cheering him. He's gone from being this lad that everyone bills that nobody takes seriously to, like you said, getting his lions fed, to saying his own shit, doing his own shit. He's a multiple-time world champion. He's a multiple-time tag team champion.
Yeah, but Tony, right? I'm just going to say this because this is something I've been wanting to do on this Weekly Controversies for a while since his return at SummerSlam. Everyone is amazed with his return, and it's brilliant and everything like that. But you need to realistically think about it. He came in with the Shield, and the Shield was awesome. The Shield's one of the best factions of all time. They were wrecking everyone, even when they were baby faces. Everyone still loved them because they were good guys, but they still did the same stuff. And then we know what Seth Rollins did, and the rest is history. But when I look at the early stages of Roman Reigns, yes, he was written badly. His character was just horrible to look at on TV. It was not watchable in the slightest. Yeah, he was deep down everyone's throats, and everyone hated it. What's not to say, in hindsight, that will possibly happen again with this Roman Reigns Tribal Chief character being a babyface? Because I think what carries Roman Reigns right now is the bloodline. I think after the bloodline, it's a big question of what's next for Roman. And I just think that what his heel turn and everything that happened when he was, Universal Champion, being a champion for like 1,300 days or whatever. Yes, it is one of the greatest, title runs ever, the greatest in modern history. But as a wrestler, as what he did in his early stages, as a babyface, and nobody getting behind it, you wouldn't even put him in the top 50. Never mind even have him in the conversation in the top 10. Now, as what Mark said, if this was Roman Reigns from the very beginning, we can have a differently, completely conversation. But because I'm looking at him as a babyface now and everyone being so excited and everything like that, and he's in these greatest of all time conversations, I don't get it because I think he's only in there because of what's going on in the last 4 years and because of a storyline that's behind it. If that storyline's not behind it, what's Roman then? Are people going to get interested? And like nothing's going to be interesting about Roman because there's nothing going to be behind him.
Well, firstly, they're not bringing him to the name of Tribal Chief. If you've not seen his new match, he's the original. The original. But
yeah,
if you heard Michael Cole a few weeks ago, he mentioned something in that put the light bulb off. It seems like as a face, they don't want him to be the head of the table, Roman Reigns. They want this Roman Reigns to be the leader of the Roman Empire, which is the brand they tried pushing many, many years ago. It didn't work.
It's still not going to work. It's not going to
work. But it
is
working. Everyone's behind him. He's the number one merch seller in WWE right now.
Yeah, he might be number one, right, in his OTC and everything like that. But as I said, if he was to go back to the Roman Empire and the big dog and basically everyone that own everyone's throats, these same fans who hated him and loved him will start hating him again. And then
I
disagree.
The last few weeks,
I think what we
been taken out by the bloodline. He hasn't been dominant over them. He's not being pushed down anyone's throats. Unlike a certain bleach-haired prick.
He's had four years on the top where the fans have started to get behind him eventually. I mean, they wanted him to lose. It's just the last few months, obviously, this face turn. Whether or not he could be considered for those 4 years as top 10 material, I
But he's
really
been around
don't
for almost
think
11
so.
years.
Yeah, that's okay. But then you throw out other names that we'll get to who have far exceeded the
Like you've
longevity
said
and
yourself,
been
he's
to
been
the
part
top.
of one of the most dominant factions in the last 2 decades. He's
And
a Grand Slam champion, if I'm not mistaken.
not one of those
He's had a, he's had a,
individuals
he's had a
on
Hall
that.
of Fame career, and anybody was to argue that they'd be stupid.
Yeah, the Hall of Fame's bigger than
Just
10
like Seth
people.
has had a Hall of Fame career, no, you'd argue that.
Nobody in the Shield is
Just because Jamie is
on
the
the
one
top 10
fan of
list.
billions that doesn't like Roman Reigns at the moment doesn't mean he doesn't deserve a spot on the top 10 list.
Right, go on, Mark.
Honorable mention maybe, but he's not on mine.
No, do you know what? I think me and Mark are thinking the same thing, and that's why I think he shouldn't be on our list. But it's not that I have a dislike to Roman. I've nothing to Roman because I've not got a connection to him. But I just see this hype that's going on and everyone putting him on the list and everything that he did before. But I just think even if this is all over, the bloodline stuff is all over, the tribal chief stuff is all over, then what's Joe gonna do? You know what I mean? What's the Roman Reigns character gonna be then to elevate it to another level?
We'll have to
It
strap
can't
in and
elevate
find out.
anymore. It can't elevate anymore. It's up to a level now where it stays there, and it's only right. How can they do it differently to what they did before? And
But
you know
you're
what
jumping
wrestling
ahead.
fans, they always but they
You're
always
jumping
change
ahead.
stuff with wrestling.
You're jumping ahead to what's after and not sitting down and enjoying what's happening right now.
I
Yeah,
wish
I
we had
know,
this
but
much debate for John Cena, right?
You've tuned in to the fans that hated John Cena and then slowly but surely got behind John Cena. And now you're the same fan that probably liked Roman at the start and then grew to hate him and still hates him. No matter what Roman does in your book, he's always going to be that person that you hate.
I
yeah,
disagree. I like Roman. I think Jamie and I mean, you're
Whereas
outvoted
I've been a
anyway,
Roman fan
Tony.
since day one.
You're
So I'm not one
outvoted
of these
that's
anyway.
fair
fans that are
enough.
behind.
That
I'm
that
not
but
one of
that's
these
you.
fans that are behind the hype. I'm one of these fans that have stuck with him through the worst of his career,
And you should be
into this whole resurrection of of his career with the tribal chief and the head of the table.
you
Yeah, but
should be
that's you,
applauded for
Tony.
that, but he's not making the list. He's outvoted, and I'm moving things on because we
Yeah,
did not talk this
we
much for
could literally
Cena.
sit here. We can literally sit here all day and talk
And
about Roman, but he's definitely not on the list, right?
you
Just
got
then
one.
speaking more about like the wrestlers currently even in the product. Randy Orton.
Well, I mean, is it just you going to throw names out as Jamie?
I just
Because
think so, yeah. I think Randy Orton's another one as well that listen, he's a 14-time world champion. I think to this date he's still the youngest ever champion, like world champion. If I'm mistaken then anyone can correct me. But I think
Is he?
yeah, I think so. I think Randy Orton is still the youngest world champion if you want to class that with the two world championships. I think he was 24 when he won it against, a certain someone at SummerSlam. But Randy Orton, for someone who, if you think about when he was a heel, he was definitely one of the most interesting, like everything about Randy Orton as a heel was amazing in the later 2000s. And yes, he was a flippy with a heel and a face, and then you didn't know what he was going to be doing. But there was no denying that Randy Orton had the talent. He had the talent. He was just very selfish with it when he was very young, and he didn't have someone who he could learn from. But with Triple H and Evolution, he got that kind of apprenticeship, basically. And you look at him now, and I actually think he's probably doing the best work he's ever done in this current product in probably the last 3 or 4 years. With the stuff with Matt Riddle, with everything going on with Gunther at the moment, I actually think Randy Orton is someone who could not probably even hit the top 10 because there's so many brilliant wrestlers, but he's definitely amongst some of the greats.
I
I
mean,
don't think
worth talking
you
about,
could
but
actually. I I don't think you could actually have a top 10 list and not have the Legend Killer, the Viper, the Apex Predator in there somewhere.
he's only in for longevity. Like we've got a botched face turn when he initially with the evolution thing, a botched face turn. The Legend Killer gimmick, yeah, that was good, right? Really good back then. We had a good heel run in 09. We had some laziness in the sort of late 2000s. We had no man's land afterwards. We had a big injury, and he's come back and he's in a good spot. I get it. But longevity is because you're used to seeing him on your screens. But for fuck's sake, like, you're throwing out Cena as someone that's in there. We haven't even talked about so many guys. We've already papped off Roman Reigns. I don't see how Orton makes it ahead. Well, I mean, you can maybe have him
What the fuck is
dangled
is
there.
going on with this list? We're here
You can have him.
to agree on a weekly controversy top 10 list, and you're a piss Roman Reigns out. Now you're pissing Randy Orton out. What is going on here?
But
That's
you need to
because we
read.
haven't
The reason
even.
why we're just pissing them out is because
How can
there's
Cena be
no
on the
denying
top
he's
10
got
list
a great
and
list.
not Randy Orton?
No, there's no denying, right, that he's got great accomplishments in wrestling. Don't get me wrong. But when I put Cena in, I see Cena had the biggest influence in his rise. I just think with Randy, he was given something too early in his career. That's why he's still the youngest champion to this day. It was given too early for him. And he didn't have that big rise like really early on, like what Cena did. When Cena was the basic tokenomics, he shot up to the moon and stayed there until he became Hollywood. That's what Cena did. With Randy, it was like a crossroads. Get it? It was like a crossroads, and it was very bumpy as well. But then it also had its smooth lanes. That is Randy's career. You know, he had his bads, he had his goods, and yeah, he was one of the most well-known wrestlers in the
I
late
disagree.
'90s. But I just feel like he didn't hit that peak like Cena did. I just don't think he changed the game like Cena did.
Yeah, that's true. But one thing is quite clear. I think it's actually getting quite difficult for us to put in or put out people like Orton, like Reigns, when we haven't really established the people that are definitely shoe-ins to be there. Maybe we need
Right.
to go backwards and literally not even talk about The Rock. He's in. Steve Austin. He's in. Shawn Michaels.
Triple
He's
H,
in.
he's in.
The Undertaker. Triple H. That is 5, right? That is 5. And I imagine nobody can disagree with those 5. The debate comes from who joins them. Who joins them. And that's the thing, because Stone Cold set the bar controversially, maybe for 5, 6 years. Reigns done it longer. I'll give you that, Tony. The Rock, come and gone, did his best work possibly in the last year. Shawn Michaels, again, longevity, in ring, Mr. WrestleMania, etc. The Undertaker, longevity, just stature. Triple H, maybe he's a bit more controversial, but at least that is
What the fuck are we
5.
basing this top 10 list on?
We're basically right. We're doing this list right for what they've done for the industry, for wrestling, and not only that, like how good they are on the mic, the matches they had, everything that they did for wrestling, everything you associate with wrestling is what we're doing this list based off. And like, don't get me wrong, right? That list, the list of wrestlers you said there, Mark, 100%. I could probably say The Rock, maybe not on my list, but if we're going majority and
What the
everything like that, no, listen,
what?
Tony, I understand that. What? Go on, say it.
How the fuck can The Rock not be in anyone's top 10?
Right, hang on. Can I just if we're gonna go on the Rock topic, he's only famous and he was only big for his mic skills. He was one of the
And you just
greatest on the
said that
mic.
was one of the
If
things
there
for
was
a
a
top
list for
10
the mic
list.
skills,
If they could
he's in
talk
the
the
top
talk,
3.
literally your word for word.
Yeah, I know, but what I'm trying to say is, right, listen to me what I'm trying to say. Yes, I understand why The Rock would be on a top 10 greatest of all time list, right? For everything with The Rock, his mic skills, his character, everything like that. But for fuck's sake, other than Stone Cold matches, name me one memorable match other than Hulk Hogan. That's literally it. That's all I remember The Rock for in the Attitude Era was Hulk Hogan and Stone Cold. That's all I remember his matches for. Other than that, he was boring to watch. He was a
All
boring
right.
Triple
wrestler.
H,
So why
his
is
whole
John
thing,
Cena on
his
the
whole
list
thing with
then?
Triple H, his whole thing with Rikishi when Rikishi ran Austin over.
That was
When he was
stupid. Everyone know that was stupid.
when he was in between Hollywood and he was heel Rock when he was Hollywood Rock.
Why is Cena on the list if we're talking about in-ring quality alone?
Because
But
at this
no,
moment in
listen, I
time,
think the
Jamie doesn't
reason
know
why
who should be
Cena's
on
on
the
the list is
list.
because he was held back in his moveset. Everyone knows that. Yeah, he had the 5 moves of doom and whatever you want to call it. But for fuck's sake, I just think when he had matches, he was like, yeah, he was just he was held back to some of the stuff he could do. And I think when you notice that in even the US title matches, he's done a lot of moves that you'd go, fucking hell, I didn't know he had that in his locker. Like John Cena is a great wrestler. He has more memorable matches than The Rock ever has. Honest
The
to
Rock,
God,
so the Rock sells
This episode's going to
so
piss so
under
many people off.
pissing me off, man. It's pissing me off.
Yeah, your brother.
The Rock selling is like top notch though. It's
fuck
in
his
ring.
selling. He had the axe that shit.
The
But
fact that you can only
Swagger
name two things The Rock is good for and not some of the actual great stuff that he's done.
things.
I
I
thought
mean,
you were the one that did. I
yeah.
thought you were the one that
The
did all the research and this stuff.
the
no, listen,
argument you gave, Jamie, was that you about Cena doing more for the business than Orton, so Cena's on it. Like The Rock came
don't
back
tell me
last
The Rock
year.
has done more than Cena,
Nobody
Mark.
has
Fuck
done more
off.
for the business than Dwayne
Fuck
Johnson. That's
off.
a fact. That is a fact. Nobody has
Nobody
done
who's
more for the business
not,
than Dwayne Johnson. There
nobody
is
who's
no
not,
John Cena's. There is no Cody Rhodes, and there is no bleeding whatever we have
no,
today without The Rock.
nobody who's not named Hulk Hogan. I think Hogan may have done slightly more in that era, but in the modern day longevity, um, yeah, The Rock's ultimate legacy is if he shows up on screen, then people watch. That's it. It doesn't matter how shit WWE was at certain points. That name was there. He was advertised or not. Doesn't matter. You got your pop. People will go home
Yeah,
and remember it. People will watch that on YouTube, unless Joe Hendry makes an appearance. It'll be the highest sort of viewed video on YouTube or Twitter or whatever.
yeah. Well, look, I know it's going to be a majority decision with this list. And yes, The Rock is probably in it now because you used to agree on that. I just don't think he should be. That's just my opinion. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for it, but that's just what I think anyway. But yeah,
I
I just
think
think
it's
what got The Rock boy was his mic skills. And that's just what I think
that's
anyway.
okay.
That one good attribute he had. And that is it. That's what got him to where he was at the time, being one of the most popular wrestlers. Like even going to like what you said about Stone Cold, there's no denying Stone Cold should be. I actually think he should be in the top two of all time. Like Stone Cold for what he did in the Attitude Era with everything with Vince McMahon, and he was the one that shook the devil's hand, and we all remember that shake hand. That's one of the greatest images in professional wrestling history. Like nobody ever thought we'd ever see something like that. But that's what Stone Cold did to people. He done the unpredictable sometimes. And it was amazing, even when he would just pop up, the fucking reaction he'd get for just beating up Vince McMahon, Triple H, whoever he was feuding. The man was like head and shoulders above anyone at that time. I don't even think The Rock would even be in the same level as Stone Cold Steve Austin. I just think Stone Cold was just so popular. Everyone, you talk about all the documentaries, from all the old the wrestlers of nowadays, and how they had Austin 316 in their shorts and skill. Like that's how popular Stone Cold was.
Yeah. I mean, if you ask my grandma if
But
she's
I
heard
mean,
of Stone Cold Steve Austin, she says no.
For every Austin 316 t-shirt, this is going from someone whose hero was Stone Cold Steve Austin, who's all-time favorite wrestler was Stone Cold Steve Austin. But for every Austin 316 t-shirt, you can bet your bottom dollar that the kid sitting next to that Austin fan was wearing a Just Bring a t-shirt.
Mm.
Or an NWO t-shirt.
Or
Hulk
an
Hogan.
NWO t-shirt,
But
depending on what network your man
put it
can
this way,
afford.
I think this is where the conversation would get interesting. So we've come up with five. So Stone Cold, The Rock, Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, Triple H.
And
We
John
didn't,
Cena. So we've
and
six
John
so far.
Cena. And whether or not we want to include Hulk Hogan or Ric Flair.
I think Hulk Hogan definitely has to be on it. There's
But
no
that,
denying that.
not due to my visibility of him, because I've only seen him as bloody Mr. America and not a
But I think
particularly.
everyone knows what Hulk Hogan was like in the golden era, as that's what they called it, the golden era in the
He
late
did,
80s to early not in 90s.
before he
When you
became
had
an undeniable prick, he did blaze a trail for wrestlers that came after.
Yeah, 100%. You know what Hulk Hogan even did when he joined WCW at the time. You like WCW was always a product where you even see a young Stone Cold, a young Mark Calloway, a young Paul Levesque, all of these young talents who then made their names in WWE and done, whatever they did. But you look at when Hulk Hogan went in, he was already an established star for what he did in WWE, and then Macho Man also signed. But when he turned heel and was one of the outsiders to then form NWO, he transcended that company to another level. There was a reason why they were beating Raw for how many weeks, Tony? Nearly probably 2 years, I think. They were nearly beating them,
Uh,
I think. So, like, you know what I mean? A year and a
that
half.
number 60. Oh, I don't know. I want to say 72 weeks. I think that's too long.
Yeah, 72 weeks. And don't get
I
me
think it might
wrong,
have
we
been
know,
62 weeks. I'm not too sure.
yeah, like we know he was a power hungry, he created his own fucking control and everything like that. We know what he had in behind the scenes, but there's no denying Hulk Hogan transcended two different stages of wrestling, and he has to be on the list.
I For what he did with the business, for that alone, that does earn him a spot on the list. But
Hmm.
you did mention WCW, and
Hmm.
I feel if we didn't mention this name, we'd be shot on the spot. And it's a name that we'd probably be forced to have to go back to the episode again. Adam, on we didn't. Sting, the icon.
Yeah. No, I think I actually agree with you 100%.
The lad only finished up at what 4 or 5 decade career this
Hmm.
year.
So
Yeah.
this is where things get interesting because now we've established 7 or 8, and it's like these last two spots, and it's a fight, right? It's a fight to get onto this list. Sting was one I thought that I would be pitching.
Yeah.
That's a,
It's just
and that
when he said WCW, I was like, that's my chance. I'm going in before
so
another dude
my
with
Yeah.
a name is thrown out.
the one thing with Sting is how many people, if he didn't have that pretty poor run or unfortunate run with WWE, how many people would have grown up and loved wrestling and fallen out of love with it without actually seeing Sting? Based on the
Hmm.
fact that he was in WCW, he was on TNA, he was on AEW,
But if
they
he
may have
hadn't have
missed
went
him.
WWE and he was like TNA until AEW eventually came about, he'd have still
Hmm.
got that spotlight in AEW. Like for all the shit talk I could give Tony Khan booked Sting right.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
I can't argue against Sting because I also wanted him there, but it does mean that to be fair, we've not even included Ric Flair, have we? There should
It
probably
just
be.
means we've 2 spots left, and it means we
Yeah.
all need to start throwing out names to see which name fits the bill.
But
So
look,
I
he threw out the name Ric Flair. And yeah, look, we know what he did with so many amazing wrestlers like Ricky Steamboat, with Dusty Rhodes even, sorry. Um, I think he had a Von Erich thing. I remember like he had a match with I think one of the Von Erichs.
He did wrestle the
So,
Von Erich
yeah,
in
yeah,
Texas.
yeah. So he was a big attraction, and the Four Horsemen. I mean, one of the big force factions in wrestling that I think everyone will talk about. When it comes to Ric Flair's career, he definitely was the front and center of that faction, and they became one of the big factions at the time. Um, yeah, I just think it's the 16 times that he won the world title. I think that gets it to me, and just how many different wrestlers also support him. But then also like the mic skills, because if you think about it, Dusty Rhodes was amazing on the mic, but Ric Flair was just a different breed. When he talked on the mic, man, you couldn't get that mic away from his mouth. He would just
yeah,
talk
Oh,
and talk and
he
talk.
was gifted on the mic. He was.
Yeah,
I think Ric Flair is the case of he stayed too long and became irritable.
mm,
yeah,
yeah,
you never knew when to quit. No Ric Flair, no some of the best wrestlers of all
Like
time, or
you
some of
have
the
to
best wrestlers in the
imagine.
modern day. This guy did set the bar, and a lot of people, as you say, looked up to him. Therefore, his legacy in the industry probably goes beyond what we saw as fans.
yeah, true.
Yeah,
Do we put him on the list, lads? Or do we just throw out more names?
I
So another name we could
let's
throw
try
out
out a
is
few
Bret Hart.
names.
Is Bret
Well,
Hart on the list?
I wouldn't put Bret Hart on my list.
I wouldn't either.
not because his wrestling wasn't great, but because the man was a pompous, arrogant prick who thought everything should have been handed to him. He was nearly as bad as Hogan.
Mm. Yeah, he did have a history with that. He still is like someone who, you know, even though he was amazing in the ring and everything like that, and you know some of the memorable matches he had with the likes of Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, the famous match with Stone Cold at WrestleMania, it's the fact that really he wasn't someone who was, I'm not saying liked, but someone who didn't have a connection with anyone behind the scenes. He just hated
Like,
everyone. He just wanted to be on the
I,
top.
and I do get a lot of heat for not liking Bret Hart, but I just is it. I've had chances to meet him numerous times, and I haven't took it. The only way I can get a picture of Bret is if I bump into him walking around and I get it for free. 'Cause I'm not paying that, lad.
There are
Like I have a
certain
figure here,
types
I
of.
have a figure here, I have a figure here signed by Bret and Goldberg, and I only got it because I wanted Goldberg's signature on it.
You could have just asked me. There are two types of wrestling fans for me. Those who get Bret Hart and those who don't. Um, I am outing myself. I've never got Bret Hart. The in-ring quality stuff, it's not my style of wrestling. Um, it's not really the type of match storytelling that I like, but I can respect the man. He wouldn't be in my own personal top 10.
Like I
Right.
feel if I was asked to pick a Hart or a Canadian to be in my top 10, and
To
if
be
he
on.
lost this person too soon, it'd be on.
Yeah.
Owen was miles better than
100%.
Owen, but Brett miles better than Brett. But
He was.
they
I think
could
he's a better
never get
wrestler.
out
Yeah.
of Brett's shadow because of how Brett was perceived.
Yeah. And
Very
I hear this
possibly.
thing about like, oh, well, I think they're crazy that like you think his little brother Owen was better as a wrestler, but I mean, come on, he beat him at WrestleMania. I know
Look at
people
that
might
match at
go, "Oh,
WrestleMania.
doesn't really
Look at that
matter."
match at
He
Mania.
beat him at
Look
WrestleMania.
at if you have the network on, look, actually don't probably be edited. Go on to YouTube and find the Owen Hart Brett match and tell
Yeah,
me Owen Hart didn't carry that whole match for 15, 20 minutes, wherever it lasted.
yeah.
I'd
And
like
then
to
everyone
throw.
struggled to even watch the fucking Yokozuna match at the end when Bret Hart won the world title.
I think we know that Owen's not going to be on the top
No,
10,
no, no.
but
No. I'm hypothetical.
yeah, I would like
But
to throw a couple of names for
go for
debate,
it. I have
and
a few names too.
I guess this is the last spot of the 10.
But then again, we have look. Listen, we
Well,
discussed about Ric Flair, but
did we agree Ric Flair was going on? Did we say we go through a few names and then add
I
two
think
more to
throw
the
a few
list?
more names,
Okay, a
and then we can
couple.
I
discuss
still
I
them
mean,
think we have two
finals and
spots
spots.
left to fill.
Ric Flair is on the, like, if there was an official list, he is on it, but he's not someone that I really cared for watching wrestling myself.
Which
So,
is why we're trying out a names because it's not an official
Yeah, I
list.
think it'd
It's
be great
our
to throw
list.
more
It's the
names
weekly
in.
controversy list.
well, I'm throwing out Chris Jericho.
No,
And the
I don't
reason I'm
think
throwing
so.
out Chris Jericho is because he is the only wrestler, the only man to have the longevity whilst getting over again and again and again and again. He
Look,
can shift
don't,
into any role as a heel, as a face. He can take your top title. He can carry your mid card title. He can elevate other people. And I get that the last year and a half, 2 years, people have been tired of Chris Jericho, and he's kind of leaning into that a little bit. And he's not.
mm,
Everyone he's maybe feuded
So
with hasn't come out on top in the last couple of years. But I'm willing to put that aside for the man who AEW may not be the success it is if it weren't for Chris Jericho's signing. And you know what? Maybe WWE wouldn't have been the same without Chris Jericho at certain points as well. For me, he would be on my list.
so I have, and I will remain to be, no matter how fucking ridiculous his gimmicks are, to be a Jericho holic. But we're talking about two spots of the top 10. We have to be careful who we give them to. And listen, Jericho has had a Mount Rushmore career. He's had a career where he's had to change his gimmick time and time again. You've had the Millennium Man, Chris Jericho. Then you had, I think he was Lionheart for WCW. Then they dropped the whole Millennium Man thing and he was Y2J going into the new Millennium. Then he was fired by Bishop and he came back as the Code Breaker, Chris Jericho. which I think is some of his best work. That '07 run is some of Jericho's best work, hands down. Some of his best work.
Yeah.
We'll always remember, because he never stops reminding us, we'll always remember who the first ever undisputed WWE champion is.
Yeah.
The man that beat Stone Cold and Booker T in the same night. Or was it Stone Cold? It was Stone Cold
No,
and The Rock in the same night.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the argument has to be had. And you said it yourself, this list is based on wrestling skills, mic skills, and what they've done for the business. He checks all three of them boxes. Whether you hate the man or love the man.
Right. I'm of course, typical me, I'm just gonna be the opposite to this. There's no denying what Chris Jericho's career has been like from before he went even WWE, when he was in Japan, and then when he was young, trying to make his name over there. When we know there's so many guys you even now look at today in modern wrestling who look at Japan as a starter for a possible career like what Chris Jericho has had. And then he went to WCW and he became this obnoxious heel where it was so annoying you wanted him off your screen. But as every wrestling fan has said, that's if you're doing your job as a heel, you're doing it right. And he came to WWE and everything in the Attitude Era and then everything about reinventing himself. But I remember watching the podcast with True Geordie, and he did say that if you're never gonna reinvent yourself, you're never gonna be interesting. And it is true, but there's sometimes where if you have about 10 different gimmicks, and then you're like, right, there's probably one or two of them gimmicks genuinely you go, right, they're so memorable, like these are amazing in his career. The other eight are very much they're not great. They're not horrible, but they're not great. They're not to the level of the two gimmicks he had before. And I just think that, yeah, him signing for AEW at the time was very logical. Someone who was out of WWE contract and then got in a big name. Everyone knows who Chris Jericho is. But when I see now the last 2 years with Chris Jericho and this learning tree stuff and his fucking 100 gimmick and everything like that, I'm just like, mate, just retire. Honest to God, yeah, I know he's doing great for the young
Hi,
lads and
guys.
stuff, but no, listen, just retire because listen, you were amazing. Everything about what he did was amazing, but it is time to hang up the boots because I'm sorry,
that doesn't stop you from being in the top 10 list of all time, though.
No, but what I'm trying to get at is right.
That's just your random opinion on Chris Jericho.
No, it's not a random opinion. What I'm trying to get at is he's had a top 10 greatest of all time achievements, but I just think what Chris Jericho does with these different characters and reinventing himself and everything like that, it's like, yeah, some of them are amazing, but then most of them are just, You know what I mean? I just think that
most of them are just Roman Reigns on booked on events.
But if you think about it, right? When he has hit the peak, and listen, when he has hit the peak of his career as being world champion, please tell me you can't say that any of them world championship runs were good. Because when he was undisputed champion, they threw him with Stephanie McMahon, and then Triple H won it. When he was world champion, the only thing he done brilliantly, and I have to say, give him credit, was the Shawn Michaels stuff. In 2009, when he was rivaling with Shawn Michaels, that was amazing. I will give it that. But that's it. That's literally it. His world title runs have been amazing. If you ask me,
because he was never the top guy.
But we're not going to base his career because he got stiffed on the booking when he won world titles.
Championship reigns as well. Like, I don't go thinking about
it's what he did.
Championship
it's what he did to bring himself back.
But I do though, because when you hit the pinnacle, you have to kind of go, right, what are they going to do next with being the top star?
You remember Roman Reigns?
Chris Jericho is top star in any era. He's just a mid-card wrestler who was great being a mid-card champion. That's all that is. And I'm sorry to piss all over everyone's parade, but that is just it. Yeah, brilliant achievement. Everything that he has done. But he's not in the top 10, in my opinion, lads. I just think this whole thing with longevity and everything he's done for the business, I just think it's because of the amount of gimmicks that he used to do. That's just my opinion anyway.
I don't
you
think
can't tell me that you were one of the people that went out and bought one of those clipboards and said this to Jericho in 2012 when he was fucking not 2012. Yeah, it was 2012, wasn't it?
No,
2012, 2014.
It was 2016. The list of Jericho.
With Kevin, he was with Kevin on. You got to tell me you didn't go out and buy one of them T-shirts and one of the clipboards and going around telling people they made the list.
No, that's what I'm trying to say to you. There's two gimmicks that's probably up there as well, right? As probably a third gimmick. That was amazing. Because when I think about the two gimmicks, I think about when he debuted as Y2J, as Break the Walls
The
Jericho.
Millennium Man.
That was amazing. Honest to God, that was one of the best debuts of all time. And Suit Jericho is what I remember him by. The Suit Jericho, the stuff in 2009 to 2010, that stuff with Shawn Michaels and everything, and then with Edge at WrestleMania. I think that period for Chris Jericho was amazing. Other than that, yeah, Delicious Jericho. Other than that, I don't really sit here and go, what was so amazing about Chris Jericho's runs with the world titles or anything like that. You go, right, he deserves to be on the top 10 list. If this was a top 10 underrated wrestler,
but we're not saying because he's had world titles that he deserves to be in the top 10.
I'm going to move
in the
us
top
on.
10.
But hang on, you look at the amount of wrestlers we put on this list, lads, right? And the amount of world championships they all have combined together. And they have elevated their careers more with them world titles than Chris Jericho ever has.
Shawn Michaels didn't really...
Because they were in the back pocket of the boss.
Did.
Shawn Michaels was never the chosen one. Oh, not Shawn Michaels. Chris Jericho was never the chosen one. That's why his reigns never lasted long.
But again, the point I was going to make, and I'm going to move us on from here because we'll be talking forever on this as we talk forever on everything. Chris Jericho's title reign, the points that you made about memorable title reigns, I honestly can name you 3 memorable title reigns in my life watching wrestling. I don't think title reigns are there to be stopped, not like that was such a great reign. Like it's not how I think about it, especially during that era when it was more hot potato than it maybe is now. Now it's slightly different. We'll remember things because of the longevity of like Gunther's reign, Cody's reign, Roman Reigns' reign. But back when it was more hot potatoing and, a bit more shock value and less in the build, it was very hard to have a big title reign. And that's why it was more the moments that people won that was the bigger deal. And if we're talking about moments for people to win, does Mick Foley make your top 10?
No, I wouldn't put Foley in. But I mean, I respect that guy hugely, 100%. Greatest, probably him and Terry Funk, greatest hardcore wrestlers of all time, no doubt about it. Mick Foley, he isn't someone that, yeah, he has so many memorable fucking moments in the Attitude Era, but it is the fact that, yeah, he is someone that wasn't supposed to be world champion, but because he did it, it was such an amazing story for him being world champion that little brief time before losing it to The Rock again. I just won't put them on my list, but I have like a huge respect for all of them. It's realistically thinking who you're going to put on the list. And you know what, lads? Fuck it, I'm on a roll now. Yous are going to be mad at this. I'd put Brock Lesnar on the top 10.
How are we jumping straight from Mick Foley to Brock Lesnar without everyone getting that 2 cents in?
Well, wait, what are you going to say about Mick Foley that will make you a top 10 list? There's nothing really.
I was going to say he would be an honorable mention. Like, the lad has to be given respect for putting his body on the line the way he did.
Absolutely. But you don't make a top 10 list for me, throwing yourself off at
Mick Foley's best years were probably 96, 97, when he was wearing the brown gear and he was doing the dark Mankind schizophrenia gimmick. When he came out to that real eerie music and then he left the even eerier music.
I agree on the honorable mention of Foley. I just wanted to throw one in just to get what you guys are thinking. But you've given us the name Lesnar, and again, is an interesting one because he would probably be on my personal one, but I don't know if he'd be on a shared one. And again, I can come up with reasons why, but I'm more interested to hear, Tony, what your thoughts are on Brock Lesnar in the top 10.
I can't do it. I can't put him on the top 10.
Why can't you not put him in top 10?
Because he's had everything handed to him. He didn't have to work or in or scratch his way. Like
I could say the same thing with Roman. I could say the same thing with fucking Roman.
He comes and Roman didn't get on the list. He's made that perfectly clear.
No, but what you're saying is that he's being handed to him. But yeah, I could say the same thing about Roman, which is actually also a thing that he's being handed world titles after world titles when he was the Roman Empire.
And Roman's not on the list. He's made that perfectly clear.
No, I know that, but what I'm trying to say is you won't put him on the list because of something that Roman has also done. But
I
yeah,
don't
you
put him on
put
the list
Roman on this
because
list.
I
You
don't put
put
him on the
Roman on
list
this list.
because one, his mic skills are shy. He needs Paul Heyman to be relevant. Two, he's a suplexer. He suplexes people. That's his move list. And three, what has he done to elevate the business? Which is the three main things he picked for people to be on the list.
The reason for me Lesnar's not on the list is because he doesn't. When Lesnar can be arsed, he is on the top 5, never mind top 10. But Lesnar can't be arsed a lot of the time. And he gets a lot of holidays and he gets brought back in for the showcases. That's my issue with
Like,
Lesnar. He is
if,
brilliant on his day, but his day, let me think, in football terms, it's like, I don't know, some lazy striker like Ibrahimovic shows up and thinks it's all about him, maybe something like that. It's a bit of a shit cop out answer, but someone like Lesnar is good when they want to be, but when he's not,
and
you
he
get
stopped
something
wanting to be
like
good and he left in 2004.
no, you get something like the Dean Ambrose match.
Yeah. And I do
If
see that,
if you
lads.
ask John Moxley about that, he'd have a few choice words to say to you.
Yeah. No, I do see that though. Like, if Brock Lesnar never left in 2004, we probably would be having a different conversation with him being in this top 10. I just think the reason why I threw it out there was because he was the one to beat the streak. And then I think from then, because like when he returned, he didn't hit the ground running straight away. He lost to Cena, then he lost to Triple H, but then he won against Triple H, I think, in the middle of all that. But it was when he was in them against CM Punk, and then he got that win in SummerSlam, which was an amazing match. You know, he then went to go after the Undertaker, then bet the streak. I think from when he bet the streak to his last match against Almas, which I know was a horrible match. I think in that period when he was a part-time wrestler and then he was a champion and everything like that, I think he was just a big attraction. I think he was someone that, you know, every WrestleMania, every SummerSlam, every Royal Rumble, he was always going to be on it. And he was getting paid shit tons of money to do it. You know, yes, he didn't have a fucking, he didn't have a work rate like everyone else did. But I just think because of the attraction of who he was, that's what everyone went for, you know what I mean, for the big names. So that's why I think I put him as an honorable mention because of who he is and because of what he did and all before. So
Tony, have you got
then I
another
was
name
like,
to throw into the mix?
I
Sorry?
actually think there's one wrestler I think you two definitely will have a discussion about, and it's someone who in the early 2000s had amazing matches with Brock Lesnar, and that's Kurt Angle.
Yeah, he was the one I was going to throw in
I was gonna
next.
say Kurt Angle. I was gonna
I
chime in
mean,
and say Kurt Angle.
he does take my last spot.
I think he'd
You
take my
take Kurt
last
Angle
spot
in the
too.
top 10.
Yeah.
Do you think, right, can I just say this, right, when he joined TNA, do you think that jump from when he left WWE to TNA was sort of the change of the landscape with like wrestling at the time? Because when you look at TNA, they had amazing wrestlers coming up like Styles and Joe and everything like that. But seeing an established WWE guy going to TNA and then instantly being a top star, do you think that was because of how popular Kurt Angle was and how amazing he was at the time?
A bit of the
Yeah, I
fact
mean
that it was.
at the time you're coming off the back of some of Angle's better feuds. Like he didn't leave WWE on a bad note, even though
No.
at the time he left, you were pitching the ECW brand to him. So he was
Mm.
in a, like you said, he's established. He was still in his prime. The flame hadn't gone out, and he showed up at TNA, and everyone was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah,
And the
it
rest,
is
as they
that
say, was history.
it was history. And am I not mistaken in saying did he win the TNA World Title in his first couple of months in TNA?
Did he didn't it?
Yeah. So
After
you know what I mean
having
straight away.
absolute banger after banger with Samoa Joe.
Yeah. And like he is everything as he ticked the boxes, but like when he was also world champion even in WWE, I remember his, you know, fucking world championship run in SmackDown, even though it was a couple of months, it was still great, you know. And then when he was TNA champion, some of the matches he had with Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, Sting, became I think he was with the three fucking what you call it? Main event mafia.
He was.
What do they
He's
call?
the founder. He
Yeah.
founded the main event mafia.
You know what I mean? And that was one of the first big factions as well in TNA. So yeah, I think I agree with you, lads. I think Angle's definitely on this list. And we put Ric Flair in as well. as we established.
Unless people have. Well, can I throw one more name, which is
Like
probably
what?
Right, throw one name in as well.
honorable
One.
mention. Tony, I'll let you go first.
I feel I wouldn't be a wrestling fan that everyone knows and love if I didn't put out this name. This man is, of course, the hot Scot, the hot rod, Rowdy Roddy Piper.
Ooh, that's a great show.
I think he'd been a lot of people's top tens, but from what I've seen of wrestling, it's why I struggle to put Ric Flair in. It's why I wouldn't put Hogan in mine because of my own visibility. Some people you just know about, Roddy Piper's one of them, but I would think that someone like Kurt Angle is probably in it ahead of Piper for me.
Yeah, I look and yeah. Listen, you said, Mark, about title runs and the being a world title is not that important. But when the reason why I discuss about world titles a lot in this podcast or in other episodes is because it is important. When you have that, your basically has a chip on your shoulder. You are the top guy. No matter if you're the top guy in SmackDown, top guy in Raw in the current product with the 2 world titles. When you have that, you've got big responsibilities to be one of the top guys in the company, and seeing how then you will do with that. And I feel like because he never got to touch the world title, Roddy Piper, I just wouldn't put him in. Like, don't get me wrong, Roddy Piper was one of the first big heels in WWF. He was amazing on the mic. We remember the Jimmy Snuka segment when he fucked the coconut over his head. Um, Everything controversial he even did, the half and half stuff and all at WrestleMania against Bad News Brown. We remember all that shit. Roddy Piper was always the discussion on people's lips because of how controversial he was. Like, we have a controversial fucking podcast, but if you think about it, he was probably the first one to have ever take that step in at the time WWF. Do you know?
Yeah, I think so. It's just from what I saw of him, a lot of his old videos, and when he would come back, and clearly a name that you hear a lot about. That a bit like Dusty Rhodes, a name that people mention inspired them, and that's maybe what his legacy is in terms of my visibility of wrestling. It's who he inspired rather than what I saw of him myself. But I think it's one of those. It's almost like a reluctant honorable mention rather than top 10.
Yeah. What name do you have out there? You haven't said what you wanted to name him.
Yeah, so mine, I think we'll all agree is just an honorable mention, but I wonder if anybody would fight a little bit harder, given longevity somehow has the best knees in pro wrestling. And that would be Rey Mysterio, someone who has been there from the off, certainly from probably when Tony started watching, worked his way, retained that relevancy, and one of the names that a casual fan would be able to rhyme off without any hesitation. Everybody knows that mask. Everybody knows who it is. I appreciate perhaps not someone on the same sort of levels of visibility of, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, John Cena, obviously not. But I wanted to have a quick discussion just to see how hard people would be willing to fight for him to get a sneaky place on there.
Do you know what? I think that Rey Mysterio, for what he kind of like with the mask and being a lucha libre wrestler, someone who is very traditional, because you don't really see that. Like, I know we've seen him without the mask and blah blah blah, but he stuck to being that traditional lucha libre wrestler with that Mexican style, the high flying and everything like that. And he was amazing in his early stage. And in nowadays, he doesn't really do much of the stuff that he is now, but I think that's because he is that little bit older. And, I think one injury for him, and I think it's all over. So he is more protective on what he does. But there is no denying his in ring ability is second to none. You could probably put that on in ring ability a top 10 list with Rey Mysterio. And it's the same with like Goddess of Soul, Eddie Guerrero. I think in my personal opinion, my personal list, Eddie Guerrero would be in my top 10 because not only was he amazing on the mic, he was Viva la Raza, everything, but he was just a fucking amazing in the ring. You could watch him for hours and hours and hours. But I just think because of his death and everything, and just the because he didn't hit that peak in his career. I know he won the world title against Brock, but God, man, if he fucking was still around in that late 2000s into the 2010s, I think we'd be saying Eddie Guerrero for top 10, lads. I just think he was that good. Now, I know I'm saying a different wrestler, but definitely Eddie and Ray, them two for in-ring ability, they'd be in the top 10, no doubt about it. But for Rey Mysterio in top 10 of all time, I wouldn't say so. So, but Tony, have you got anything to say on Rey Mysterio?
Again, he'd be an honourable mention more than a top 10. Not saying he has nothing up in his career to earn a spot. Just, I don't think he'd be on my list. Although we do have to thank him for giving us the greatest gift in God's green earth.
His son.
His son, Dirty Dominic
Thank you,
Mysterio.
Ray.
I'll take that. Yeah. No, just one worth discussing. Okay, does that mean then that our last spot does go to Ric Flair after all?
It does. I think it goes to Ric Flair, right? So I think we have the 10 there, lads. So we've got John Cena, Stone Cold, The Undertaker, Rey Mysterio. No, sorry. John Cena, Stone Cold, The Undertaker, Hulk Hogan, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Sting, Ric Flair, Kurt Angle, and what's the fucking last one? Here's the fucking last one that we were trying to discuss.
Again, list again?
Right.
Kurt Angle?
John Cena, Stone Cold, The Undertaker, Hulk Hogan, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Sting, Ric Flair, Kurt Angle. Who the fuck's the other one? We are shit at this list, lads.
Maybe we only have 9. Maybe we still have one spot left.
Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold, The Rock, Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, John Cena, Triple H, Kurt Angle.
So we've only 9. So we actually have one
No,
more
it's
spot.
10.
Oh, it's a 10, is it? Right. So since we've the 10, we have to rank them now. So who goes number 1?
Are we not going to walk from 10 to 1?
Oh yeah, we'll go with 10 to 1. I think number 10
Is Ric Flair.
Ric Flair. I agree. Ric Flair should be definitely top 10.
That fucker's not getting any more attention than he deserves. Number 10.
No, number 10. Right. 9, Sting.
Controversial take.
Do you think 9's a controversial one?
Oh.
Where would you put Sting? I just don't think you'd put Sting in the
Run
top
off that list again for me.
10. Right, go on, Mark. You had it there.
Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker, John Cena, Triple H, Sting, and Kurt Angle.
I just think
I'd put Hogan number 9.
I don't think. I think I'd put him in the top 5. Just for what he did. He done it in 2 stages as well of wrestling, which is kind of unheard of, even nowadays.
Sting did it in 4.
What?
Sting did it in 4.
Yeah, fuck you. Right. See, Mark, you have to come into this as well because we're also going to have this big debate on who is in this placement.
I think the placement's fucking impossible, if I'm honest with you. And I think we'd end up having a podcast itself on that. We have, 5-10 minutes before Martin tells us to stop and gets angry at us. Who did you put as 10?
I put Ric
I
Flair.
said Ric Flair.
You put Ric Flair.
Right, I know we're going from 10 to 1, but fuck it. Just to make it quick, number 1, Stone Cold.
I'd agree with that.
Right, Stone Cold's number 1. I would put Cena, but fuck it. We'll go with majority decision. Stone Cold's number 1. Number 2, John Cena. There's no denying. Number 2 is John Cena.
I was Cena getting in ahead of Undertaker.
That's what I was going to say.
I'm not. I could sit here all day and say, but I just think it'd be just
I'm just
that
happy we got agreed of 10 people. I'm not bothered. You know what? The comments can debate who the best of that list is, surely.
Yeah, the comments can, but I mean, I just think, I don't know, because right, I don't mind putting Undertaker second if he's wanted. I just think Cena's done
Austin
better for his
won.
career than Undertaker did.
Taker second.
Cena has to be in the top five, lads. Fuck off with this.
Number 3, The Rock.
Oh, go away. Fuck you. The Rock
Number
said John
4.
Cena.
Number 4. Oh, this is hard. Number 4, Triple H.
Okay, I think Cena goes in at 4. I agreed with everything up to the point, but I
Yeah,
think
I was
Cena's.
gonna, I
Cena
was
has
gonna
to
have
be top
seen.
five.
I was gonna have seen it at 5.
Mm, that doesn't leave much room for Shawn Michaels, though, for me.
He's way too low, and I just think he's way too low.
Well, the only way this works is if you have seen it at number 9, we're gonna put everyone else below him because
Telling you. Number 6 be Sean. There's no denying Sean be number 6. And then I'd say 7 be Kurt.
right.
8 then
Triple
would
H.
be
8 is Sting if it has to be.
well, we actually never mentioned Triple H, yeah. So no, Triple H. I think Triple H will be
I did mention Triple H. I had Triple H at 4.
I had
And
yes.
Cena
Mark
at 4.
jumped in. And Mark jumped in and said, "No, Cena should be at 4."
Cena
Yeah.
at 4. Michaels at 5.
Where the fuck did
I, d-
Cena go then?
I just
4. I
Cena
said
don't
has to be
Cena at
see.
top
4.
5.
I just don't see
Cena
how John Cena gets in ahead of Triple H.
Fuck
Cena
you,
at
man.
4.
Honest to God.
Cena at 4. Triple H at 6.
So then, wait. So we're putting Shawn Michaels as 5 then.
That's
We're
what I
gonna
would
have
have
to
done.
agree to disagree on this list at this point.
That's what I'm
Literally.
saying. This is not a podcast for consuming, I'm afraid, folks.
No, the podcast we're fucking debating, and I'm debating John Cena to be literally top 5, and you two don't think so. Like,
I mean, for the last fucking time, I said 4. 4.
We're only saying 4 to
That's
please him.
4 is within 5. No, I thought he would be on my top 4.
Me
He
and you
would
were
be on
having a
my
stern. Me and you were having a stern talking to when I see it on Sunday.
Cena would be on my Mount Rushmore, which means he'd be in the top 4, but he would be the 4th.
yeah.
Oh, we're putting Cena on the Rushmores now.
So, right. Stone Cold is 4th. 2nd is Undertaker. 4th is The Rock. 4th is Cena. 5th is Shawn Michaels.
Yeah. 6th would
6th
be
is Triple
Triple
H.
H.
7th is Kurt Angle. Yeah.
Yeah.
8th is, well, I'll put Sting at 9th, but 8th, Hulk Hogan. We put Hulk Hogan number 8 because,
Yeah.
oh man, this fucking list is actually hard. It is
We're
so
pissing a
hard,
lot of
isn't it?
people off.
It will piss a lot of people off. Right,
I
fuck
can't
it.
wait for the
Hulk
comment.
Hogan 8th, Sting 9th, and Ric Flair 10th. And that's the Weekly Controversies top 10 greatest wrestlers of all time list. And
That
fuck
is.
me, it's a clusterfuck.
It is a clusterfuck. And if you've managed to make it to the end, thank you and congrats. For sure. We will probably sign off and beat each other up offline, and off camera. I'm expecting if this does actually go out on Monday, there's a chance that I could be dead. Tony may have
But
killed me.
by the time you're home.
Tony may have killed me. On at All In, which we are looking forward to, and at this point in time was the best show I've ever been to. If you're listening to it on a Monday, when it goes out, but all that's left for me to do is thank you all for getting this far. Hopefully, you guys can leave us some comments, some thoughts. You know, if you
Yeah.
think, in my opinion,
If
are
you
stupid as
have a
fuck.
top 10 list, leave us a fucking list, and then we can get use our opinions, because this majority decision shit has definitely broken up our relationships.
Yeah, if you think I'm stupid, please let me know. If you think Jamie's stupid, don't let him know. And Tony doesn't really care what you
And
think.
if you have got any complaints, please forward them to Mr. Martin 115 on Instagram.
All I'm saying is I'm glad that Aaron wasn't here because Christian Cage would be at number 3.
If Aaron was here, we'd still be trying to get the 10 list together. We wouldn't even have numbers on them.
Very probably. Very probably. But I should take us home anyway. Guys, this has been the Weekly Controversies, where you can find us on Instagram, Weekly Controversies _2. You can find us on YouTube on the FiveMarks Network. I've been the guest, demoted to guest, the only Mark
Oh,
on the
Mark.
FiveMarks Network, Mark Goldberg, joined by Jayo Brown and Tony. And yeah, I'm afraid that's all we got. Unlike this list, this podcast is over.